Hey everybody, welcome to the Ronline Report. Today's guest is President of the Arnold Sports Festival, Bob Lorimer, joining us all the way from Columbus, Ohio. How are you, Bob?
Fantastic, Ron. How are you doing today?
Doing very well. I have not had a chance to speak to you since the Arnold Sports Festival back in March, which was the tipping point before this whole virus situation spiraled into what it became with the quarantine, the shutdowns and everything. But first of all, I have to commend you for being able to hold that event in spite of everything that was going on. Even as we were all flying into Columbus, your mayor and your governor were trying to shut the entire event down, were they not?
Yeah. Yep.
Wow. And
yeah. Because again, it was as much a surprise for us as it was for you or anybody else, because look, this was at the beginning stages of this. I mean, people had, the news had just started to report that this was coming this way.
Yeah.
But it was a complete shock to us, particularly in the time frame, because it couldn't have come at a worse time for us, particularly because look, 2 days before or 2 days after, either way we would have been fine. But look, like you said, there's 22,000 athletes coming from 100 different countries around the world.
Yeah.
The government's idea was to try and stop those people from coming in. So that we didn't have just large, the large gatherings were here anyhow, but they didn't want all those 80 and 100 nations in. But, the difficulty is they're already here. I mean, they shut it down, booths were set up, people flowed in, and, we're ready to go. So, because our event starts on Thursday for the most part. And, so they decide on Wednesday to shut us down. It's incredible. So.
Yeah, like you said, the wheels were already in motion. We already had all these people flying in from many, many different parts of the world. To your knowledge, was the turnout? To my eyes, it was hard to gauge because if the Expo had been open, we could have had a much more easier way to look around and say, okay, it looks like it's pretty packed, or maybe it's not quite as packed. Do you know if you got roughly the same amount of visitors, or if the whole situation with the COVID did turn away a certain percentage of them?
Well, no, because again, when the governor did the shutdown, so kind of how it happened is originally they talked to Arnold and they said we would like to shut this down, and Arnold agreed to letting them just not let public in. But again, he knew that we have 86 different sports and events here, and we had, like I said, there's 22,000 athletes that are already here in town, and it would have been a real shame to have those people that got ready, and the bodybuilding industry, which we're in for the most part, the guys that are training it, they're on 8, 12 week, 16-week cycles just to try and get ready for the show. And say, oh God, you can't compete in 2 days from now after you just dieted for 8 weeks. That'd have been just devastating. And so we kind of just pushed back a little bit, just saying, look, we can, it's not fair to all our athletes that have already flown in here. And, we'll just do it without an audience. So at that particular case, I mean, our biggest mass is really inside of the Expo.
Yeah.
And so the idea was just to shut down the Expo. But we still continue to push to let families and friends in to watch the spectators. But, of course, they came up with a court order. And because we told them we were going to forge forward regardless, unless they had a court order.
Right.
And, but 11 o'clock on Wednesday night, they produced one. And pretty darn hard to do, but they did. So,
yeah, we still did have spectators at the finals for all the events on Friday and Saturday night, which was a saving grace because it was creepy. I was there for for everything, obviously. And the judging portions of the event, to have an empty auditorium was really eerie. It was strange to look out. I'm looking at the stage anyway, but for these athletes, I've talked to a lot of them, to look out upon an expanse of empty seats, it was just kind of unnerving. And, they did their thing and they forged ahead. They did what they had to do. And the show went on very, very well. I have to ask you, because there's so many moving parts, so much personnel, so many events. You plan for, I'm sure, so many different types of emergency situations. Was there any way you could have possibly planned or foreseen anything like what happened?
Absolutely not. Because again, like I said, we were really the first event to get hit. And, but again, it was pretty frustrating to us. Again, you're going to shut us down. And, we're the largest multi-sport event really in the world for the most part. And, so they shut us down on, like I said, Wednesday, late at night, but they let Ohio State basketball fill a 20,000 seat auditorium on Friday night. So some of it was just maddening, but that's the reason why. So we pushed, because on our bodybuilding, that's such an avid following, and those are our VIP. Those are really our VIP people. So we pushed really hard to get them in. And again, governments, they're one hand doesn't necessarily always know what the next is doing. And what I mean by that, for the most part, is it just didn't make any sense to me why they would let the person that bought the VIP seat not see the prejudging, but they could come in at night.
Yeah.
You have the same seat, same person. And so, just some of the stuff's just crazy. But
my theory was the virus is afraid of the judging, but it wasn't afraid of the finals.
Yeah. Like yeah. So, but it worked out, and look, again, I'm sure everybody was very upset with us at the time, and we didn't know what to tell anybody. Look, this was news to us. We'd never seen anything like this or experienced anything like this. And, I feel very sorry for all the people that traveled in and set booths up and brought staffing in and products in and everything else. Yeah. But truly, look, everybody has lost in this pandemic. Everybody, just about in any business has had some suffering at some point. And so, let's just hope that they find a cure and get this thing over with pretty fast. So we can go back and get on with our lives.
I would hope all those people that were upset, they understand that it was not like an internal decision from your committee to shut anything down. It was a court order executed by local government, state government. You had to abide by that, or else, consequences would have been severe, I'm sure.
And that's the case. But, here's my analogy to that. You're sitting on an airplane and you're on the tarmac and the thing doesn't leave. What you really need to do is you need to have that pilot get on there and say, hey, we're having experience in this, or we're fifth in line, or you want them to tell you something.
Right.
And the fact is in this particular case, this event is so big, you couldn't tell everybody. You just, I wish we had more time. I wish we could have notified people and told them don't come in, because, we were getting people coming in, landing off of flights from Australia and South Africa and all over the place. And they're going, what the heck? I would have stayed home, if I'd have known this, it's strictly timing.
What is the current status in the state of Ohio with gatherings, with sports events, conventions, things like that? Are any of those allowed yet?
There's, the rules change every day. And again, and the bad part about it is, when they do allow gatherings, or they do, like the riots, for instance. Yeah. Well, if you're going to have a riot and let everybody gather there, and protest and everything else, the thing's going to spread. Well, it did. It spiked like crazy. Yeah. And, so I think that they have to stop the gatherings, but for how long, I don't know, because at this particular time, to me, again, if you're going to do something like this and it's a worldwide pandemic, then you need to have the worldwide people, the leaders of this thing, dictate to everyone how the thing should be run. Yeah. It should not be held up to state by state or individuals or anything else, because, some politicians aren't afraid, some are. And therefore, if you're in a state where you are, then the people just drive across the border. Right. We're bordered up against Michigan, and the Michigan governor just shut everything down. Home Depots, Lowe's, gas stations, everything. So people just drove down to Ohio. And, you can't blame them. But again, it just seems to me, still, even to today, they opened the beaches back up in Florida, and, well, guess what? 1 million kids go out, and now you got, 150 spike cases in one day. And it's like, well, you're going to have that. Yeah.
So, like I said, I know from talking to you previously about the event planning, it does take a full year due to the scope of this. The Arnold Sports Festival is so enormous. A full year of planning and personnel and equipment and all. I can't even imagine the logistics involved in something like that. As of now, are you planning as if, we'll have a vaccine and things will be status quo again by next March?
Well, Ron, it's, pretty interesting for us is, exactly that. We do plan all year, and what we plan for is to highlight our event to be bigger and better than the year before. We always, our models do better than your previous best. And so I think that we had planned, the setup, the layout, the timing, the stages and everything. I think it just had better flow, because every year you learn a little bit more from the mistakes you did the year prior.
Right.
The mistakes you make, you have that full year to correct and try and push forward. So, we were really excited about this year. And of course, we had one of the best bodybuilding lineups in our history. And, but everything was right in place. And, I'm very sorry that I didn't get to see it because I was really excited to see this year.
Yeah.
To answer your question, though, so, there's not going to be a lot of planning going into this coming year because pretty much everything that we did last year, we didn't get to highlight or show. So I'm hoping just to replicate what we did last year or what we should have done last year, and which will cut down on our planning. The difficult is what, you're right. What are you planning? What are you planning for? And that's the problem. Yeah. And until I know that, it's really difficult to forge forward or, how much room do you need or anything else? Because look, you can't have an event like ours and, any large mass gathering and just ask for social distancing. It just doesn't work. I mean, it's not what it's about. And, rock concerts or whatever, about a fifth of the world economy deals with social gathering. Whether it's parades or whatever. I mean, imagine having a parade and have your band 6 feet apart. I mean, the parade would last 3 days.
It'd be the parade path would be 140 miles long.
Yeah. So at some point, we need to get back to normal. And when that point will be, I don't know. There's people that say, what's normal? Is normal ever going to be back? But, look, this world's been around here for a long time. It's seen a lot of different things, and we've all strived and worked together to get back on the same playing field. But one thing I do feel lucky about and feel, good about is that at least I think that our audience is such a avid bodybuilding fan and sports fan fanatic for the most part. And we primarily market, the 18 to 35 age group. And I think that there's less people in that age group scared of this pandemic than senior age or somebody that has, a precondition or whatever. Because right. if you do, you do need to stay locked up and be really careful. And because, the people that are going out, it kills me, Ron, that, every place I go, social distancing is pretty good. You're walking down a grocery store line, people step back and, and they kind of let you walk through or vice versa. But what happens after that? I mean, where do you go and when you get back into gatherings and masses and everything else? I mean, how do people, react to that? That's going to be an interesting thing. So
I've been wondering about that myself. I mean, will people ever hug? Will they shake hands? Will they be comfortable just being next to other human beings like we've been for thousands of years? Or it's just going to be the new norm is keeping away from other humans with this force field around us? Yeah. Well, let's change the subject, Bob. We have even bigger, more current news in your city of Columbus, Ohio. Currently, there is a petition on change.org initiated by someone named Tyler Woodbridge. I kept trying to keep track of the signatures, but every time I look, they're up and up. The last time I looked, it was almost 120,000 signatures to rename the capital of Ohio, Columbus, Flavortown, which is a term that was coined by Ohio native Guy Fieri. It sort of describes a mythical food utopia. I guess Columbus is known as a culinary crossroads, the testing kitchens for a lot of different restaurants. I'm sure it's got great food and all that, but the second I saw this, I said, this can't be real, but it is real. And it's, we're having a lot of reactions now to, anything you want to protest, any injustice from the present or the past that people have issues with. This summer seems to be the time to air those out and try to make changes. And Columbus, because Christopher Columbus, these people assert, has a horrible historical reputation, as many conquerors of throughout history, of raping, enslaving, genocide, whatever the case may be. So your town, your city, I shouldn't call it a town, have you actually had already statues of Columbus taken down in various places?
Yes, we have.
Oh.
But I think, look, it's going on all over the country. And, again, just depending on what way you look at it. I think that, look, great historians study history. I mean, that's what you do. If you're gonna, in any war or battle or anything else, or if you're going into, a business for yourself in the first time, what you want to do is you want to research how other businesses have done it in the past. So how can you do it better? And to erase the past, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent, to me, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, granted that, that this particular issue is very hot and a very hot topic, but, like you said, there's been thousands of years of stuff that's, the genocide's been a lot different than this and a lot harder and tougher than this. I mean, look at World War II. I mean, there's nothing worse than that.
Read the Bible. The whole Old Testament is wars and genocides, basically.
Yes. So, why they take this a little bit that too far? To me, it's just taken a little bit too far. Because again, it is history. At some point, I want other people to say this too. Look, I had one of my great grandfathers that fought in the war to help them. He fought for the North to, gain their independence. And so, even though one of my great grandfathers is, he served in that war, why isn't that part of this thing too? I mean, he was as much part of it as anyone.
Yeah.
And, so I don't know. It's just, changing the names of towns and things that have a long-standing history is it's just one thing. You can also choose which program you watch or which statue you look at. I mean, what you read about. So control things like that, but don't get rid of history. History is too important to everyone in the world.
Are you concerned at all that this could actually happen? Columbus becomes Flavortown?
Well, am I concerned? I would have said, and I said this just during when they went to shut me down. I go, "You're kidding, right?" I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And I was sitting there talking to my partner in South and Australia, Tony Doherty, and Tony goes, "Oh man, my government would never do anything crazy like this." I go, "Tony, because he was 2 weeks after us." I go, "Tony, you need to go back and cancel your show because they are." And he goes, "Oh, they'll never do that," But I was as shocked that they did this. So would I be shocked if they changed the name of any city or anything else? Yeah. Little shocks me today.
I'm curious. I know you speak with Arnold on a regular basis. Have you spoken to him about this situation, the Columbus being renamed?
Not particularly about this. But look, Arnold, he's a really smart guy and he gets it. And he's in the political realm, the political fields, and but look, he's also looking at this at the bigger picture too. Where people should be wearing masks and they should be protecting themselves too. So if you got a precondition and of any type, of any asthma or whatever it might be, you need to also be careful for yourself and not necessarily worry about what other people are doing. But I know that there's a real big push for masks out there, and but my message to people is, look, the social distancing is really nice, but if you don't feel good, stay home.
Yeah.
It's nice that everybody's sitting here saying, "Oh, I'm social distancing, I'm doing all this," but darn well, you wake up in the morning and you don't feel good. You're taking not only your own life at stands, but you're putting other people's life at risk. So why don't people just on the social distancing, just stay home if you don't feel good?
Yeah, I mean, or if you're very, very high risk. I have one of my older brothers is 62. He's in remission from cancer, and he has not. I shouldn't say he hasn't left his house, but he hasn't gone to anyone else's house since this whole thing started, and nobody's been to his house. He's very, very careful, and I think that's the best way to do it. If people know that they're at a very high risk, stay away.
Absolutely. Because the thing is the people that are going out that are continuing to spread it. I mean, that's the shame of it, because the purpose in the pandemic and to shut it down is to slow it down and make sure the hospitals can stay up and everything else. But as soon as they can, you can't just run out just because you're sick and, spread it around. Stay home.
Yeah. Regarding the statue situation, a lot of us in the bodybuilding community were deeply upset. It was about a month ago. It was in the height of the George Floyd riots. That situation, Black Lives Matter riots all around the country. We saw that Arnold statue that's was only installed, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago. I don't know how long it's been there. That great big brass statue of the twisting rear double bicep in Columbus that we've all taken pictures with, and it had been defaced. Somebody had put red paint all over the hands and just vandalizing graffiti with no, Arnold never. It made no sense. There's a lot of people just latched onto these riots as a opportunistic way to be vandals and thieves and spread anarchy and chaos. But I was very upset. You and Arnold, you both must have been upset to see that happen.
Well, yes and no. But here's the thing, just about that statue. That look, it's in downtown Columbus, and that's in the heart of where any parade is or anything else. So was I really upset with this? I really wasn't that upset, because he gets clothes put on him and painted and hats and everything all the time. If it's
Really,
if it's Easter, he gets something with a bunny on it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Or the Gay Pride Parade, they put something else on him. So
yeah.
I didn't really feel bad, because again, these people are speaking out there. They're protesting and everything else. I don't like the vandalism. I don't like them breaking stuff. But the worst thing you can do is paint his hands. Because that wasn't directed at Arnold.
Yeah.
And that's the thing people have to recognize, that this thing was just is people that were mad at their cause and mad at what was going on. And was it right to do that? Heck no. But look, every parade, every fashion, every holiday, Arnold's, I have some pretty good pictures of him, and, St. Patrick's Day and other things, so.
Did Arnold ever make any statement about that, about the defacement of his statue?
Not that I know of, not that I particularly saw. But like I said, look, that statue, Arnold doesn't represent anything. If anything, Arnold stands more for this than anybody. He's all about the social distancing. He's never about any color, race, or anything. Just for the people. And look, Arnold doesn't have many enemies in life, and he doesn't really need enemies, because he stays neutral, listens to both sides, and he's done more for blacks and gays and everything else than anybody else I know in politics.
Yeah, that's why a lot of us we're left scratching our heads. Why did they do this to the Arnold statue? But like you said, it was probably just random. It wasn't directed at him. It was just they had some paint, and here's a statue. Let's throw some paint on the statue over here of this muscle guy.
So for our profession and our business, look, that's not who Arnold is. Arnold is not a guy that's he's all for all of this. So there's no
rights.
reason.
Absolutely, his humanitarian side, you don't even have to get into. Anyone you could look it up on Google or Wikipedia. He's been a benefactor to many repressed groups for many years now. So, that's good to hear. I'm glad that you're not upset and he's not upset, and just clean the paint off and everything's cool. So, Bob, I guess that's it. I wanted to see what you thought of this initiative, which I don't think it's going to happen. I think that's ludicrous. If you're going to rename Columbus, I think they could come up with something a little more dignified than Flavortown. That sounds like a Nickelodeon show or something, or a cooking show on Food Channel. That's what Food Channel.
It really does. But pretty much every poll that they've taken on it so far is 85 to 90% say no. So, now whether they listen to the polls or not, I don't. Who knows? But
well, it'll take more than some signatures to change this capital city's name, I hope.
I do too. But like I said, nothing surprises me today. So.
Well, Bob, let's hope things sort of get back to normal as soon as possible. That's what we're all praying, hoping for. Looking forward to, of course, Arnold Sports Festival 2021. I had a great time in 2020, even with everything going on. I think the event was still first class. Everything went off without a hitch. From my point of view, covering all the various IFBB Pro League division events, everything was great. I had no issues at all. It was actually a little easier than normal without as many people to wade through. Honestly, selfishly, I'm saying that, I know. But great job pulling that off at the 11th hour with all that nonsense going on. And here's to looking forward to bigger, better Arnold Sports Festival 2021.
Well, thank you very much, Ron. We look forward to it and hope that they get the cure out there and we get it moving forward. So
absolutely. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching Ronline Report with this man, Bob Lorimer. We'll see you next time.